it was not the best thing move for me career-wise. It was not. Afterwards, my mail was being checked, my packages were being checked, my phones were tapped.
Yeah.
Wow.
No
And-
shit. Wow.
Yeah, and
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back, X5 Podcast. Hope everybody's doing well. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like and notifications. Today, we have the honor of bringing an amazing guest today, author, multifaceted businessman, rock icon, Mr. Dee Snider, everybody.
All right.
I'm hoping one day I get to that point with in that class of a man who needs no introduction. I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm pretty close because I pretty much can't go anywhere without people recognizing me.
Yeah.
Red, white, yellow, black, young, old. It's
Right.
pretty amazing. Actually, it's stunning.
You're a pretty recognizable person.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Are you? I said, well, you find another one. Let me know. I need a replacement.
You're the only
This one's
person
just
on
about
the
worn
planet.
out.
You're the only person on the planet who's rocked MTV and C-SPAN.
Yeah, I know. Voice of MSNBC for a while there too. I was, VH1 Classic, whatever they come up with. Yeah. Somebody said, I heard Twisted Sister on the Classic channel. Yeah, it's that old, man. It's classic rock.
It's crazy to think the 80s is classic rock now. In my mind, it's hard for my mind to be wrapped around that.
The 90s are classic.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
not-
yeah. You think about
gosh.
Fuck,
90s
dude.
bands. That stuff's been out for decades.
Yeah.
And then some of these young bands who I became befriended, in the 2000s, it's like Motionless in White.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while. They got a lot of albums. They're not a new band by any means. I like the new bands like Motionless in White. And my daughter goes, you gotta be kidding me. Those guys are ancient.
That's classic rock.
They classify as oldies now. Yeah.
They're classic rock.
Yeah.
You know, that 3 Days of Grace, they're a pretty good band. Yeah. That's classic rock, Dad. You're like, what?
It's over. My daughter calls it dad rock.
That's
She
it.
says the giveaway is the bandana, covering the baldness, and this. He goes, this one's for my son Jimmy. The dedication to their son or their grandson.
Oh, God.
It's a dad rock. I'm like, oh damn, dad rock. And I'm right there on my last live album called "The Love Metal Live." This one's for you, Shy. Oh, damn, my dad rocked it. My dad rocked it. Well, my daughter, who just named it Dad Rock,
Dad rock.
Wow.
I get made fun of all the time. My daughters, I've got one that's 25 and one that's 18. And so we'll be on the lake. That's our favorite thing to do is just be on the water, right? And I'll throw on a little yacht rock sometimes.
Yacht
right?
rock.
And then sometimes I'll throw on a little, good 80s mix.
Wait, back it up. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I've been doing radio over 30 years,
Yeah.
so get ready to be interviewed. So what the hell is yacht rock? What am I missed
Are you-
something?
You have
I don't
missed
have a
something.
yacht.
You don't know that term?
Yacht
No.
rock is one of the, all right, so
I know Yahtzee. I don't know
check
yacht rock.
out a band, and I'm not plugging this band, but they're probably the most fantastic I've ever seen do this. Check out a band called Yachtly Crew when you get home.
Yachtly.
Okay.
Crew.
Okay.
Yachtly Crew. Now, what these guys do, they do only yacht rock covers. So it's like Hall and Oates.
Billy Ocean.
Anything
Bill-
that had a white blazer and cocaine.
Yes,
That's
it's yacht
pretty
rock.
much a yacht
And
rock.
sounds
The whole-
smooth.
And
Yeah,
jeans,
smooth
yeah.
jazz.
Miami Vice era.
Yes.
Anything comes from there.
100%.
Yeah.
White
Okay.
Steely
Testarossa.
Dan.
A
Yacht rock.
pastel colored shirt.
All right.
That's yacht
I
rock.
guess I outed myself as a non-yacht person.
Christopher Cross.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. He's the king
Isn't
of
it the
yacht
late?
rock.
Didn't he just die?
I don't know.
Who did? No, that was Chris Christopherson.
Christopherson, yeah.
No, it's funny when I first heard
Close
Chris
enough.
Christopherson died. I said, Christopher Cross passed away. I didn't know he was that old. They said he was 88. I said, he was 88. Christopher Cross? No, Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
Oh, different guy. Sorry.
You know,
a very different guy.
I
Very
read
different.
something interesting about Christopher Cross, and I think he's extremely talented. Extremely talented. You know, I I had read an interview. It was talking about, when MTV came in, right? You had an image for the music, so a video back then, right, was basically a commercial to come see your show and to give a visual of who your band is, you know, which Twisted Sister was the fucking king of, right?
Most certainly.
Yeah.
But I read an interview when Christopher Cross won a Grammy. Nobody knew what the fuck he looked like before then. He went up to receive his Grammy, and, he's kind of Chris, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but he's kind of an unattractive guy.
He's a little dowdy.
Yeah. And look, his fucking career took a dive after that.
Yeah, well, a video did actually kill radio stars. I mean,
absolutely.
Supertramp. When people saw what those guys look like, see ya. Okay, I mean, remember what was his name with Joe Jackson?
Yeah,
Joe Jackson.
It was a reason why he had shoes on his album cover. Did you see what he looks like? Career gone. And let's pan up to his face. Yikes! Back to the feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man,
I'll only make fun of people who can't defend themselves. Okay, as I promise.
I was hearing some amazing inside baseball stories on you from our mutual friend Mark Weiss. We were out in LA just hanging out, and we were talking about you because what was it? The 40th anniversary just passed not long ago for Stay Hungry, right?
Yeah,
40th anniversary.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy? And he was telling me all about when you guys. When he was shooting the photos for everything, and just like, that you guys had worked all day, and it was just tough to catch the magic of what everybody wanted. He said then it was like it just clicked for him, and just took that bone and all that stuff, and it just happened.
I call Mark one more roll, because he used to be rolls.
Yeah.
Just one more roll, Weiss. Yeah. And we started filming. This was Stay Hungry's coming out. We're set to break.
Right.
And Atlantic Records is putting the money behind it. We got the video, everything, they're putting all the buttons are being pressed. Everything is, the stars are aligned.
Right.
So we know we're hitting the road, and we're not going to have time to do photo shoots.
Yeah.
So I have to do the album cover, but we also had to do all sorts of press photos and other alternate versions, so you could see, so you had stuff to get out there.
Sure.
So we show up for the photo session at 11 a.m. on day one. We wrap at 9 a.m. the next morning.
Wow.
So almost 24 hours
Jeez.
of taking pictures.
Holy shit.
With makeup, without makeup, the album cover, just everything we could do. And it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, my 5 o'clock shadow is like coming through the makeup. If you look closely, you can see just like sticking out. And I'm putting more base over it, trying to cover it up. And Mark goes, and everybody walks off. He goes, D, one more roll. I'm like, and now this bone that was on the cover, we had the idea that there'd be this meatless bone on the table showing that we were a starving band, but with dreams of greatness, yada, yada, yada. There was a whole other vision for the album cover. Mark got it on Monday. We shot the following Monday. So we just sat in the summertime in a hot room.
Oh, God.
So the smell of rotted flesh. You see me in the back cover picture, like screaming, like, I was reacting to the smell. That's how I developed that face.
That's fucking metal. Right?
Yes. So Mark says one more, and this bone has just been sitting there the whole time. And I'm going, okay, I'm just grabbing this freaking bone. I'll burn the glove later. And I grabbed the bone and I started posing.
Right.
And he's right. And that, I don't know if it was the last shot, but it was a roll of 36 back then.
Yeah.
One of those pictures became the album cover. After 22 hours of taking pictures, the one we used was, and Mark, to his credit, he kind of knows that instinctively. It's kind of like in the studio, and I don't know what you guys haven't recorded, but hey, we got it, but let's do one more take.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times without that pressure of getting the take, when you've got one that's good,
sure,
that you just let it rip. I don't mean take a fart or anything like that. I'm talking about, but whatever you do, and something really free comes out of it. Something genuine comes out of it. And Mark kind of knows that. And he's pushy. We just did me and Brett Michaels. I'm part of the Party Grot thing. And so Mark wanted to get pictures with me and Brett together, which we've never done. And we know Mark's shit. So you've got 10 shots. Because Brett's got, okay, so, and Brett knows I love him. Love Brett. I'll make fun of me and him. So Brett's got this. And it's every picture.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm flying to Phoenix. I'm headed to Minnesota.
I'm opening a can of ravioli.
It's the same thing. It's always the same. And D is, I'm coming to Phoenix. I'm going to Minnesota. So we're like, dude, you don't need more than 10 of those. We know what our pose is. We've got it down. Right. And Mark, okay, 10 shots. Several dozen shots later, Mark, one more roll Weiss, but he's always pushing, but he knows that it's in that moment that you get something special. Even sometimes it's just the frustration of it and the anger that you get genuineness coming out, emotion, so I know that for me, vocally I'm very, and my pitch is great as a rule, but still I'm very conscious when I was recording that you're trying to not have any flat notes. You're trying to hit everything precisely. And when you're thinking like that, that's not how you rock.
Right.
You don't rock this sitting there like, and drummers, I feel bad for drummers because, they're forced to play now. Everybody plays to a click, to a metronome.
Right.
And it's not, it forces
mechanical.
It forces it to be a lot more mechanical. And it became the way. And people say, well, it's got to be to a click. You know what? They didn't play to clicks in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. That became a thing in the 80s. And then you say, we have to bring in session musicians because the regular musicians aren't good enough. Well, guess what? There was no session. I'm saying? It's a moment, trying to capture a moment. And I think when we're in the studio or we're taking pictures or whatever we're doing, where, when we're very conscious of, we're doing this now, it's being recorded, we're on TV, we're being filmed. That's when we're not at our best. Is when we relax and go, okay, we got it. We've got the take. We've got the shot, but let's just do one more.
I always felt like the click was for the engineer more than for the musicians.
No, it's just so you can quantize and really.
That's what I'm saying.
But
there's a million reasons why they do it.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I remember I worked with Clive Burr from Iron Maiden. We had a band called Desperado. And, and Clive was an amazing drummer. And, but his timing wasn't great. And, and the producer said, we got to lock it in. But I would always tell him, listen, start it with the click.
Yeah. Run
it through the first verse, but I want you to remove it. Because a song is supposed to have some feel
movement
to it. And if it goes faster, well, that's how it should feel. It shouldn't be sitting there where he's like consciously listening and holding it down and holding it steady.
Well, it takes the feel out of it.
Yeah. I think so.
Appetite for Destruction, Steven Adler, same way. Nobody had the swing that guy had,
Yes,
so
great guy, great drummer.
He couldn't lock in on the click when they were recording, but instead of doing whatever, Zootout and them said, you know what, fuck it, guys. You guys play to Steven. Because if you go and you sterilize it so much, it's not going to sound the way it needs to sound. And so it's 100% correct.
Exactly right. And you go to some of the greatest recordings of all time. I dare you, put a click to them. And, and you're going to go, whoa.
It's a roller coaster.
It started here and it ended, it ended at a different speed, but that's rock and roll, man.
Even gritting drums, like playing to a click and then, taking away that up head or behind, however the drummer plays, there's still, you can hear that mechanical stuff. These
100%.
These guys' styles are, they're intentional with that stuff. So, when you take that away, it's just like you lose that magic. It doesn't sound like this drummer anymore.
Well, what about the fanaticism for getting perfectly accurate vocals?
I was just going to say that the whole like pitching everything just so it's like dead on.
And what does that actually do? I mean, it turns you to T-Pain.
Exactly.
I don't know. No, but I mean, I'm on a boat. But I mean, I think I really believe that something is lost in that, and people go, "Oh, well, there's all these hits and this and that." I don't know. It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's the dance is one thing, and very formulaic music is another thing, but rock and roll's got to have a looseness to it, and I don't think we're better for it by making it so strict and so regimented.
Do you guys record together as a whole band all at once, live style?
No, that's another thing that's lost.
Right.
I mean, and it's really
There's
lost
a magic thing that happens with that.
because people aren't even like where you're in the studio in the building together.
Yeah.
Now, because of technology, we can all lay down tracks wherever we are.
Fly 'em in.
Yeah, and I mean, they're uploaded, and you're never even in the same country. Sometimes that's a lot. I mean, at least when we recorded these, track everybody separately, but it was still there. There was band vibe going on. Now, I mean, some of the places I recorded is just embarrassing. I recorded in a bathroom.
Oh yeah,
The vocal came out pretty good, actually. I mean, it was a toilet right here, and I was saying, "I'm guys, really, how the mighty have fallen." I remember being an Electric Lady record plant, the legendary studios of yore, and now I'm singing over a toilet.
Shitter Studios.
You got to redo the take because the toilet starts filling up.
It's running again.
Turn the water off.
I tracked vocals for one of my songs in my car with my producer in a Starbucks parking lot one day because it just
the car is a great because it's like it's so dead.
Right.
Yeah.
But we were in there, we were writing is what we were doing, and he goes and he had his interface and everything with him, and I mean fuck, you can take everything in a backpack these days, you know.
Yeah, that's the technology is just
and he's like, you know what? Let's just go cut the vocal. He built a beat and all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, fuck it. Look, and I swear that take is the one that's on the record because it was just fun.
But in the old days, you couldn't have done that.
No.
So you captured something and it worked and whatever. But the old days, you had to go into the studio and it was a thing.
Yeah.
You got a lot of that going on here, though, man. You're recreating the old days.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of that thing going on.
Yeah.
So is the bathroom the weirdest place you ever recorded?
Yeah, that was, and I mean, it was humbling because this isn't like before I was famous. This was like after the fact. This was these, Bruce, Bob and Bruce, I'm forgetting their last name, Kulick.
Oh yeah.
So, so Bob would do all these tribute records, like all these, these Alice Cooper one, and I get called in all the time to do vocals. And of course, I didn't go out. Sometimes I would be out in California and I do it with him, but other times I record him locally, and he would find this, because everything was done on the cheap. And, we've done some local studio, and we go walking in and go, yeah, the vocal booth's in there. And I open and I go, this vocal booth has a lot of porcelain.
Smells like shit in this vocal booth.
Don't worry, the shower curtain dents it. I'm like, really, Bob? Really?
Wow.
Where's the glory days? Where is the magic? And
that's awesome. Holy shit.
Fastest vocal I ever did, by the way. I used to clean bathrooms for a living. Last thing I'm going to do is record a vocal in one.
Oh, man.
Dee, take us back to when you were rolling around New Jersey and New York playing in cover bands and made that transition to original band.
So Twisted Sister formed, in 73. I joined in 76. But this was coming out of the disco era. And rock bands couldn't get arrested. I'm not talking about recording. I'm talking about working in a bar or a club. People wanted dance music. They wanted to dance. They didn't want to hear live rock and roll. And the idea, so if you played in a band, you had to play covers. No, I mean, I'm not saying there was no existing original clubs or whatever, but they were few and far between. So you played covers. And if you wanted to do an original, you had to lie about it. So you would say, this one's off an early Deep Purple album, and you play your original song. And the highest praise you could get is if somebody in the audience came up to you later after the show and said, dude, the Deep Purple song was righteous. Like, oh, yeah. They like my original, but you couldn't because you weren't allowed to play originals. So now that's the downside is you're getting very little time committed to your craft on the writing side. But on the learning to sing and learning to play by playing Ozzy Osbourne tracks and copying Randy Rhoads solos and working your vocals. My audition for Twisted, I did Zeppelin pristinely. And studying Robert Plant to that level, like you could really understand the blues quality. It made me a better singer. Of course, along the way, somewhere you've got to get your own style, and and that's where and I think that contributed to the fact that it took Twisted Sister 10 years to break. 10 years, over 8 years to get a deal. We were rejected by every label in the country 5 times. Wow. 5 times, and when at the time I felt we were being, I don't know, we just weren't appreciated or whatever because we had huge regional local following. But when I hear JJ French, my guitar player, I love you, Jay, you know that. But I mean, he releases everything. So we've got, the Club Days 2, and I'm hearing some of the early stuff I wrote, and I cringe. When I hear these first demo tapes, I go, oh my God, no wonder we didn't get signed. This stuff is crap. The 10,000 hour theory, guys? Have you heard that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's real. I had to write hundreds of songs before I learned the craft of songwriting. I thought my first songs were brilliant, but they were not.
Right.
They were bad. So I realize now that while we really, particularly our live performing, like people see me perform live and they go, wow, how'd you get so good with an audience? Playing, dollar beer night on a weekend in the Jersey Shore, that toughens you up.
Sure.
Wet t-shirt night, that humbles you. How do you beat a set of tits?
Right.
Like what am I going to do that's going to outshine all of these wet tits that are up here on stage?
Sure.
What am I going to look like? How am I going to act? You wonder why I looked the way I looked? How do I get attention? How do I overpower tits? Nothing beats tits.
Nothing beats that.
Dee Snider beat tits on more than one night. That took a lot of crazy shit, okay? But so, the live performing aspect from we did over 2,000 live shows before we had a record put out. 2,000. And so people would see us in Europe and go, wow, you guys are great with a crowd. You're great. Well, I put in my 10,000 hours. I put in and the writing, I was the songwriter. And it took me a long time till I got really good at crafting a song and wrote it, We're Not Going to Take It, wrote I Want to Rock, wrote, songs that people were willing to pay money to buy, pay money to hear, and I didn't have that yet. And so you go back to the bar days, we were putting in an original here and there, but the rest of the set was AC/DC and Ozzy and Judas Priest, So it was a mixed situation where you were benefiting somehow with your craft on one hand, but you were not refining your craft as original band.
I heard you say, or I think in an interview that you did, when you guys, of course, the aesthetic of Twisted Sister, where you guys would play at like biker bars, and because of the aesthetic with the makeup and stuff, it was kind of iffy. But then you guys would go do disco bars or play in disco bars in the same getup, but because of the type of music that you guys played, like it was like a juggling act to find where you guys fit.
You know what? No, I mean, Twisted was always Twisted. I mean, that was so the band itself. You guys have gone and seen bands over the years. Of course you have. And when you go into a bar or club, and there's often that one guy in the band that just doesn't fit.
Right.
I don't know, maybe I've seen some guys don't fit. I remember one guy used to carry around a friggin' big sword strapped to his back. I don't know why. The bass player. Bass players have 4 strings. They got a lot of extra time on their hands. This guy needed a sword just in case. But there's always that one guy who's just dressed up. He's moving around and he just doesn't fit. we were 5 of those. We were the 5 guys who were the oddballs in the bands we were in. The 5 animated guys, the 5 guys dressed, and we found each other and formed a band of 5 weirdos, so, and that was Twisted Sister. So when it came, now as far as the clubs we played, biker bars were some of the only ones where you could get gig in the disco days. So, that's a trial by fire. I got a lot of fucking fights, a lot of fights. And, because I wasn't changing the way I looked, and they were either going to accept it or get the fuck out. No one's making you stay here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, so it was very, I'm trying to find the right word. Life affirming. It was life affirming being a Twisted Sister, because in those early days, there was no following. It was every night. It was, jumping off the stage in your lingerie and mixing it up with somebody, which is tough to go home and tell dad that you got your ass kicked by a guy wearing red 6-inch spike heels and a
Fishnets.
and fishnets. The shame of it, I think, is
well, about your songwriting, right? So you brought up 2 songs. I know, and I didn't realize this till a few days ago, but I Want to Rock and We're Not Gonna Take It. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're the most licensed songs to be, to
of
license
the
80s. Of the entire decade of the 80s.
Yeah, they're the We Are the Champions, We Will Rock You of the 70s.
Yeah.
They are of the 80s. Yeah, my manager says he's Phil Carson. He signed the band to Atlantic against the wishes of Atlantic US. He signed us in Europe, and he said, "My boy," he still says this, "if you're only going to have 2 hits, make them doozies." Those 2 songs particularly, We're Not Going to Take It, which has sort of transcended the genre, the era.
Sure.
It's almost a folk song at this point. Everybody in the world knows the song, whether they know I wrote it or Twisted Sister recorded it at this point. The song has taken on a life of its own. But yeah, those are 2 doozies, as Phil says.
And didn't one of them, didn't they try to ban one of the songs from at one time?
Well, We're Not Going to Take It was part of the Filthy 15.
Yeah.
It was on the Filthy 15. They wanted to rate it V for violence.
Mistempered gore.
Yeah, well, credit where credit's due. One of the things about that witch hunt is it was bipartisan. Everybody goes, it's a Democrat. No, it was not. It was Republicans and Democrats hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was the only thing they could agree on. It was the Reagan era. One thing they couldn't agree on shit. They've never been able to agree on shit. But back then, they agreed on one thing. Rock and roll needed to be handled, and it was a Filthy 15 and V for violence. The original system, by the way, we have the warning parental advisory sticker. That was a compromise. Originally, they wanted a series. They wanted O for occult, V for violence, B for bestiality. They wanted like a whole series of letters that would specify what was going on in each song.
Like films.
Yeah.
Like films, they wanted more of a letter system.
Cannibal Corpse, so I had all of them.
Yeah.
Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah. What I loved about that, D, though, that is I was born in 80. When was that going on? Around
85.
85, 86. I was 5 to 6 years old. That's what introduced me to Twisted Sister, because what it did is fucking hilarious. Like when they brought you in, they seen, the long hair and the cut off jean vest, just fucking, and D, if you guys go back and watch, I'm sure everybody in this room has watched the footage
multiple
from that.
times.
Mm-hmm.
D could articulate a sentence better than any of the attorneys in the room, because he's a very intelligent person, and you made them look absolutely fucking stupid.
Yeah, I've been cursing. I'm assuming it's loud.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They fucked up.
Yeah,
They did.
They did not vet me. The vetting is a term where you go back and you check and you see about the person. If they had even scratched the surface, they would have found out oh, wait a minute, he doesn't drink or do drugs.
That's right.
We don't want him. He's sober. we don't want a sober guy. And they did not. And as a matter of fact, there was towards the end, right before I went, there's a rule that that you have to present your speech to the Senate committee so they can see what you're going to say before you get there.
Right.
So they can work up their responses.
So I said, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And they said, well, we don't do that. I said, well, I'm not showing you mine. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. Because they just said, what's this guy going to possibly say?
That's right.
So when you watch that and you see their faces and they're looking around at each other, they were shocked because they had no idea that I could speak English fluently. They were just, they expected me to go out there and say, it's Mr. Dee Snider. Thank you, Mr. Snider. Now we like to, they just respected me to be a complete moron. I'm an incomplete moron. So yeah, that was, and at the time though, it was not, you talk about, you knew what records to buy, all that stuff.
Right.
It was not the best thing move for me career-wise. It was not. Afterwards, my mail was being checked. My packages were being checked. My phones were tapped.
Yeah.
wow.
No
And-
shit. Wow.
Yeah, and with the immediate response, so I was labeled. So there, that day of it, I kicked ass. Zappa kicked ass. John Denver, God
Right.
bless them both, they kicked ass. Okay, but the dailies presented it as it was a tie at best, or we were schooled.
Sure.
Now you say that you guys don't know this because, and I realize the dailies come from the people who are in those press rooms who get called on by name. So Reagan or whoever the senator is,
Right.
Senator Robert goes, Bob, you got a question? That's the relationship they have. They don't want to ruin that by saying, holy shit, some dirtbag walked in and showed those guys, and kicked their ass. No. So the dailies came out and presented a very different story. The monthlies, which back then took 3 months for the magazines, like Rolling Stone and Circuit, when they all came out, they told the truth. They didn't have those relationships with those politicians. Dailies presented a very different story. So I found I'd be on the road. I never forget this. After a show, there's the meet and greets, and this kid comes and he's wearing a Dokken shirt. Dokken was opening.
Right.
And he's like, the Twisted Sisters are my favorite band, and I this and that, and the other thing about it. And I said, just out of curiosity, why did you buy a Dokken shirt? He goes, oh, my parents couldn't know I was here. Like we had become that publicly, like to the parents, not to the kids. Honestly, the kids, matter of fact, a lot of people were put off by the fact that I was as articulate as I was. I had always been open about the fact that I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I was married, I had a kid, I was a Christian. I'd always been very straight about that. I wasn't Striper, but I was, I sang in the church choir till I was 19 years old. I'm not denying my religious upbringing, but a lot of the audience was put off by that because I seemed too smart, too sober, too together. Over the years, it's become like, well, that's Dee Snider, and people have come to respect that. But at the time, dealing with that, all that other shit that came after the fact, and that negativity and the protests that went around that stuff, I remember Alice Cooper said to me, he said, why did you do that? I said, do what? He goes, why did you defend yourself? I said, what would you have done? He goes, I would have thrown myself at the mercy of the court. He goes, it's all true. It's all true. I said, but anyway, I said, well, I don't like that crap. I don't like the fact that people were saying, and it was important. And the fact is, I would do it again.
Yeah, sure.
In a heartbeat, because it was important. The whole idea is, it's not up to the government, and I'm not going down a political road here to babysit our children.
Sure. Parents
need to take responsibility for their kids, and we don't need to. And who's going to sit in judgment of creativity and art?
Yeah.
Who's going to say what did the lyrics? I mean, some of the stuff, Cannibal Corpse, is very obvious. I fucked a nun with a knife, I mean, okay. There's not much wiggle room in that, boys.
Yes,
Seems pretty much on the nose. But other things are a little more ethereal and a little more, and who's going to sit in judgment of art and creativity?
Sure, no,
and that was the point.
But you've always been good about winning over a crowd. I mean, I just saw the documentary from 2014 on you guys, We Are Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
And you, on that British show where you removed the makeup, they weren't buying it, and you got the whole crowd on your side. So, I mean, I'm sure all of that, like going into that, was from that point of view, right? You were going to win them over.
This goes back to the 10,000 hours for starters. But in the bars, winning over a $1 beer crowd.
Yeah.
Winning over like drunk people at 4 a.m. Learning 90,000 people is nothing after you did wet t-shirt night. So that's the easy stuff. But I really learned how to do that, and it's a lost art to a lot of, in a lot of ways, because the club scene is not what it once was, and opportunities for you to develop that ability. But yeah, I am a front man first and foremost. So here's a conversation that you may or may not want to have, but people have gotten upset with me on social media because I say Ronnie James Dio is, if not the greatest metal singer of all time, one of the greatest metal singers of all time.
Sure.
He's not a front man. He is not a front man. Okay. A front man is a performer. A front man is not necessarily a good singer.
Sure.
It's a separate set of skills.
It's a separate skill set for sure. Now, there are great singer frontmen.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Dickinson comes to mind.
Steven
Tyler comes to mind. Freddie Mercury comes to mind.
Mick Jagger.
James Brown, by the way, as a front man, I'll tell you, he's the greatest front man of all time. Mick Jagger, no, he's not really engaged. He's wiggling, he's dancing, but there's no real repartee with the audience. Front man, I believe, has to really engage, and to me, it's the next level. There are front men out there; they're great. Okay, David Lee Roth, great front man. There's another level to that, because David Lee Roth says the same line every night as many front men do. Okay. David Lee Roth, played in the Madison Square Garden. And at one moment of the show, he said, "Fuck you, motherfucker. I see you give me the finger. I'm going to fuck your old lady after the show." Next night, 20 miles away, same song. "Fuck you, motherfucker." Same direction. There was nobody there. I saw the guy going.
Yeah, he's talking to the janitor. The guy's like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
Oh my God. That's right. I saw Triumph, and they didn't sell out the theater, and so they shut the balcony.
Yeah.
And every night, the same point, whoever was singing at the time would turn lights on the balcony and go, "I see you up there." And there was some guy mopping. All the lights, they didn't know the balcony was shut, just every light on an empty balcony. No, there's a frontman level where you adjust to what's happening in the audience, react to what's happening in the crowd. And I mean, I once stopped a gang rape.
Wow.
During my set, I saw with Twisted Sister. I mean, I'm going, this is an ugly reaction. This is a frontman, but frontman should react. Right. This was, I saw some girl on a guy's shoulders, and it was, beautiful girl. It was a daytime festival, and she's rocking, and all of a sudden a hand comes up and grabs her breast, and then she like swats it away. Then another hand came up, and another ripped her top off and pulled her down into the audience.
Oh shit!
And I said, "Stop the song, stop the show, get that girl out of there. You can't act like nothing's happening. You can't not respond to the audience. Respond that there's nobody in the balcony. You can't respond." And you saw, some people. It was. I had a feeling we did a live TV show in England, and this was after we had lost our independent record deal with Secret Records over there. We had lost our tour. It was a last ditch. We had a chance on a live TV show to do 3 songs live, and I just had a feeling we didn't have any records out. We're doing this show. It was with Tigers of Pantang. Iggy Pop was on there. I remember Tigers, that's John Sykes on guitar. They had hit records in England. So I had a feeling it was going to be a tough room.
Motörhead was there.
Yeah, well, they came up.
Yeah.
And but I told my roadie, I said, bring my makeup remover. And with a face this big, you could imagine it's like a giant KFC bucket. And I said, and if I ask for it, bring it to me with a towel.
Right.
I just had something told me I had to win this crowd over. And I wound up seeing the audience was a studio audience, and the people in the front were going crazy. But up there in the Earth back, no one's interested in the band. And I said, and I went into an inspired stage rap, something that was reactive.
Right.
And I said, if you're not, and I don't remember the exact words, but if you people here aren't getting into it, what about the people who are home sitting in an easy chair watching TV? What's their response if I can't move the people in the room? And at that time, there was no Motley Crue. There was no Poison. Makeup was the worst thing you could wear. This is early 80s or 82, 81. I mean, and I said, is it my makeup that's bothering you so much? And I said, well, I'll take it off. And this is when Kiss is walking around, and this is not a criticism of Kiss, but Kiss was hiding. You never saw them without their makeup on. It would take 2 hours to put that makeup on. I just rubbed this makeup remover all over my face, took a towel, wiped my face off, and I said, now what's stopping you? And the place lost their shit. And we had 3 record deal offers, including Atlantic Records, by the end of that show. And that moment, that video, was just starting to come out in 82. It was very early days of a video. I don't think MTV launched in 82, or did they launch?
81, I believe.
81. So it's right. Yeah. That's very in the beginning. The clip that people recorded off TV was the number 3 video in the United Kingdom that year. And, but that's being a front man.
Right.
What's going on in the house? What's the reaction? What is happening? How do I interact with that? How do I affect that? And how do I, own this moment? How can I win the day here?
Interesting tactic though, because I think in the past you guys had gone to shows where it was maybe the wrong kind of audience to go out in makeup, and you were very staunch about, no, we're going out with the makeup because that's who we are.
Oh, well, yeah, there is famous. So we did this for years. But it was, we had a song that opened the show called What You Don't Know Sure Can Hurt You. And because we were having such a problem with people looking at us and judging the band before they heard us play.
Yeah.
So the first third of the song was played in silhouette. So that was our opener. Dark stage, backlit, and you couldn't see what was going on. And so by a third, it's like, oh, this band's pretty cool. They're rocking. And then the lights would come on, and we're like, aha! It's kind of like finding out the girl has a dick.
Does this make me gay?
No, I'm already gone. I'm already in. I'm committed. I'm committed. But so that was the song What You Don't Know. It was the opening song on our first album, and that was our opener for years and years and years. We got to England. We were recording our first album, was Under the Blade. We got able on a festival gig, stadium show, football stadium, Wrexham Stadium, by the way. That stadium that Ryan Reynolds has the Wrexham football team. That was the stadium.
Oh, cool.
And we were on the bill. We got on this bill without nobody knew who we were. Our manager was friends with Motörhead's manager, and a couple of bands canceled. And we wound up being special guests going on right before Motörhead.
Wow.
Nice.
Now, I don't know if you ever saw a Motörhead audience in their prime in the early 80s. You'd rather fuck a dude in that crowd than fuck one of the women, okay? I mean, it's a rough crowd. Rough. And we found out we had to go on in the daylight. We had never gone on in the daytime ever. So this meant walking out on stage in front of the roughest crowd we've ever seen, a Motörhead crowd, and with full makeup and costumes. And I guess they'd taken their shit off already, I think, by this point. Yeah. There was no glam, rock, retro, anything. It was, we were like, Anvil they were called Canville because they had gotten bottled off the stage at the Reading Festival because Lips wore a glovelet that was fishnet.
Yeah.
One fishnet sleeve, and you're gay. He also played a slide guitar solo with a dildo.
With a dildo, yeah.
That may have pushed him over the edge. Canville, but people were like, no, you can't wear makeup. That's the kiss of death. Right. So we came out, and there was a band meeting, and guys in the band said, listen, we don't want to go out with our makeup on. We're going to get our asses kicked. And I was terrified too, honestly. It was a dark, ugly crowd. And I said, look, man, we've been wearing this for so long. In every bar, every biker bar, every disco club, I've been getting in fights every night. I said, I'm not taking it off now. I'm wearing it. And it's a totally separate story. Lemmy, who I always say knew the smell of human excrement because we were shitting in our pants. He came into our dressing room and he said, and I've had it translated because I didn't speak Lemmy back then. It was something like, he said he'll bring you out on stage. I was like, holy shit. This was a stadium show. Yeah. Motörhead's the biggest band in Europe at this point. And the headliner has never met us before. He said, I'm going to bring you guys out on stage. I'm going to introduce you. I'll bring you out. And when we walked out on stage, the cans and bottles, man, I saw the arms going back. And then Lemmy walked out. And the place just went, whoa. And again, translated, because I didn't understand a word he said, but basically he said, here's some friends of mine from the States. Give them a listen.
Yeah.
And it went like this. They lowered it. The rocks, bottles, cans, we came down to here. Gave us just that much to show what we could do. And we could fucking rock. Yeah. We fucking could rock. And we did. And that ovation we got at that stadium, I remember 10 minutes after our show was over, because it was a football stadium, so we're in the locker rooms, and we're just, after the show, going, wow, that went great, thank God. Phew, that was a close one. We nearly got our asses handed to us. And my tour manager came backstage and says, listen. And we said, so what? He goes, we stop, and the crowd is still twisted. Sister. 10 minutes after. And then Lemmy comes in the room, again translated, and said, I introduced you. Now you introduce me. So now this kid from Long Island, I mean, I'm a Motörhead fan. I walk out there and I bring Motörhead. This is like, I'm getting chills. This is like one of the greatest days of my life.
That's awesome.
And I bring Motörhead out on stage. And then, of course, I immediately go side stage. Just headbanging with everybody else. And then somewhere in the middle of the set, Lemmy goes, this one's for him. And he dedicates America to me. And I'm like, me? Well, shit. And I'm, but it was one of those moments. Yeah. But again, you got to adapt to the situation.
Lemmy was your dad. He dedicated a song to you on stage.
Dad rock. Dad rock. But you know what? It's actually, so Lemmy started showing up. He became very enamored with the band and started showing up at our gigs. Wow. He would literally, just like the Marquee Club, come through the front door. Now, this is the biggest metal rock star in. They're playing football stadiums. So, and he'd just show up, walk in the door, and come in the back room, and hey, I'll bring you out on stage. Would introduce us to the crowd, come up and jam with us regularly. Just became like this guy. Yeah. And at the Reading Festival, Motörhead had broken up. And it was having an ugly, Fast Eddie and Lemmy in the press. It was so ugly what was going on. And so we were playing, again, Reading Festival. We didn't have an album out yet. The throwing of stuff. Someone actually, there's a story of God, I don't want to ruin it. People throwing everything. People are because they wouldn't let you bring cans and glass in. So they're getting creative. They're filling liter bottles with urine just to throw at the bands. They're filling with little rocks. Just take slowly. You've got how long it takes to get enough little rocks in a bottle so you can throw it at a band, at someone on stage. They're throwing it at everybody. So we are getting bottled and canned like crazy. That show. That one I was reactive to, and I stopped the song, and it was 35,000 people, and I said, one at a time, side stage, let's go.
Hell yeah.
But with a New York, I mean, I wasn't fucking kidding, and the audience was like, this Yank's nuts, because they could see my eyes. I said, I don't care how long it takes. Just line up, because the bottles aren't even reaching the stage. You're hitting the people in the front and the back of the head. Just meet me on the side of the stage. And at that moment, and everyone was like, you know what? These guys are funny. and then Fast Eddie came out to jam with us, and Pete Way from UFO, and Lemmy walks out on stage. He has been just choking the shit out of him and Fast Eddie, and reunites with Fast Eddie on stage for this amazing moment where you see a picture of the lineup of Twisted Sister and Lemmy and Fast Eddie and Pete Way of UFO. It just was another legendary moment. And I'm telling you that because cut to many years later, and Lemmy and me were friends for a long time. I have a Lemmy. You know about the Lemmy bullets?
Yeah.
I'm honored to have gotten a Lemmy bullet. I heard about the Lemmy bullets. I never would have thought that I was worthy of a Lemmy bullet. And there was that special delivery, at the front door, and sign for this and open it. And it's got Lemmy's ashes in it. He had his ashes divided up and given to his friends in Lemmy bullets. And that was so touching. Wow. But we were at his memorial service, which some of you may have seen. It was actually, I think they actually had it on, they broadcast it or whatever. You saw it was there. I mean, Gene and Paul was there, and Ozzy was there, and Guns were there, and Foo Fighters were there, and AAA. I mean, like, it was a who's who of rock and roll. And you saw his shoemaker was there, and his family that followed him all over the world, and Lemmy always treated like gold. And everybody's talking, and my wife's very spiritual. I'm not so much. And she turns to me, she goes, and she knew Lemmy, and she said, I think Lemmy was an angel.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what are you talking about, babe? She goes, they say that God sends down angels to walk the earth to help us on our journey. And if you listen to everybody talking, all of these people, Lemmy has affected their lives. Lemmy was there when they needed someone to help them. I'm getting choked up here and I said, so you're telling me God sent down a biker pirate rocker to guide us on our path? And she said this to me, she goes, would you have followed someone wearing a white flowing robe?
It's true. Wow.
And it always, as a matter of fact, there's a graphic novel out on Lemmy, and that's one of the stories in there. But I mean, but it was true. Lemmy was one of those guys. He's a rock icon, rock god. But so many people valued his friendship, and he was a friend when they needed a friend. And I'm so sad that he's gone. But he went out rocking. He did a show, weeks before he died.
Yeah.
Literally weeks he was on stage.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it, man.
Yep.
I loved
unless you spontaneously combust.
I love the documentary, on the rainbow, because if anybody knew Lemmy, he was, as Slash said in that documentary, he was furniture at the
playing
rainbow.
The video game.
Playing his video poker, and
he was always like that. He had a place in England. It's called Frank's Funny Farm, and it was essentially the rainbow of London.
Wow.
And and when he was off the road, he was there drinking his Jack, smoking his cigarettes, and playing his machine. Right. And everybody knew Lemmy was there. He wouldn't stop drinking. He wouldn't stop smoking. He wouldn't stop playing, but he would talk to you. You could walk up. Hey, Lemmy, how's it going? Hey, man, what's up? you know.
Yeah.
It's like that, and he just doing his thing. And then when he moved to LA and got a tan, which was weird as hell. First time you saw a tan Lemmy, or it's like, whoa, what? And Daisy Dukes. Have you seen the picture
Oh, that's a
of
great
Lemmy with the Daisy Dukes on? It's like Lemmy, what's got LA'd?
That was like the most metal shit he could have done, though, honestly.
Oh, yeah. No, Lemmy was just walking around in those white cowboy boots. He didn't give a shit. He was Lemmy. But then from Frank's Funny Farm, he found the rainbow and drinking his Jack, smoking his cigarettes, and playing his slots, you know, and of course doing speed.
Yeah.
Lemmy told me once he wanted to get his blood changed. The way rumors are that Keith Richards once a year
Get your blood freshened up.
blood freshened
That's
up, and he went to have that done. They told him they were afraid it would kill him.
Oh, wow.
He was so much alcohol and drugs in his system. But Lemmy, now we're on a Lemmy's thing here.
Yeah.
But Lemmy maintained. I don't drink or get high ever. And the first time Lemmy and I met, he pulled me aside and he laid out 2 lines of Coke, and he said, and sharing Coke, that's like, that's a gesture. Have a drink with me.
It's a
Do a line of Coke. I mean, that's a gift. That's money. And I'm not going to be who I'm not going to be. And I said, Lemmy, I don't get high. And Lemmy looked at me for a second and said, okay, more for me. And that was our relationship. Lemmy did my drugs.
Lemmy did the drugs that he gave to you.
That's right.
But I still get credit for the gesture. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah.
It's
After each line,
It's
"Thanks,
actually
Lemmy."
yeah.
My last actual attack of an audience member occurred in 1984, I believe it was May of 84, Worcester, Massachusetts, opening for Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie was not a sweetheart of a guy, but he was old school. He didn't accommodate for the opening band, so they wouldn't move any stage equipment. They wouldn't move any props. They wouldn't adjust the lights. So you'd be out there on the lip of the stage playing in the darkness, But one thing they let you do is see the audience. And I'm on there and I'm performing and I see this guy with a bottle in his hand and he's looking at me and I'm looking at him. And he's looking at me and he's lining it up and I'm looking at him and I'm standing there going, and he launches it and I move my head to the side, goes by, motherfucker. I climb off the stage, over the barricade, over 8 rows of seats, jump on top of them, full costume, boom, boom, all hell breaking loose. It falls apart, back on stage, continue rocking. Like any bar. But this was a Coliseum. Next day, I get woken up by my manager, my agent, my lawyer, and my accountant screaming at me. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I said, what? He goes, you beat some kid up in the crowd last night? I said, he threw a bottle at me. He go, you have money. I was like, what? He goes, we're not going to take it. It's a huge hit. You have money. You're going to get sued. You can't do that anymore. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? They said, we'll get you a bodyguard. I said, what, to protect them from me? And so that was my bodyguard's job, basically. So I wouldn't beat up people in the audience. He would beat them up. And I remember we were at an appearance in Australia, him and me, and so we're in the limo and we're leaving, and this car pulls up. Twisted Sister at a light. What an idiot. Twisted Sister sucks. Door opens. Bodyguard gets out, pulls his door open, pulls the guy out of the car. Boom, 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 boom. Drops him in the street. Gets back in the limo. We drive off. He goes, how was that, boss? I goes, kind of like watching somebody fuck your old lady. It looks good, but it doesn't feel the same.
It's actually that time in the episode to where we have callers call in. Not live. We have them call in and ask for advice on our X5 advice line. So sometimes they're real zingers. Sometimes they're actually real questions. So we're gonna throw it over to them. Give them the advice line number,
So
Jeff.
412 for advice. So you pick it up, call, leave it. We'd like it for it to be at least a minute
or
less.
under.
Yeah.
So-
So Dee, we've never heard these.
Yeah.
So we have
Okay.
no idea what they are.
And I have not either.
Right, of course. So yeah, again, that's 412-4-ADVICE. Just leave a message. Like again, Charlie said, a minute or under, whatever it is, and we'll hopefully play it on the upcoming episode.
All right, Eric, let's see what we have, buddy.
What's up, X5? I got a rock and roll question. What advice do you have for musicians that refuse to play cover songs for money? Also, I have another question. What advice do you have for musicians who are a part of a band that is backing an artist but is not involved in the writing process and therefore not getting credit for the songs being written? Thanks, guys.
Ooh.
D, you want to take that one?
That's a two question.
That's a two-parter, yeah.
So I come from a band that did cover songs and a lot of cover songs. The alternative was to work a day job.
That's what I was going to say. Get a day job.
And work on your original material. And there were places to play, but there was no money in it. We, Twisted Sister, knew that if we played cover songs, we could make a living out of playing. And our choice was I'd rather not be working, a day job on the loading dock like I was, or cleaning bathrooms like I was, and being rocking one way or the other. So that was a personal choice. Now there are other bands. One of the first bands we toured with was Queensryche. And they never played a bar cover song a day in their lives. They rehearsed and they worked day jobs, and that was their choice. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and the choice is yours. Just for my money, I liked the idea that I was out in front of a crowd, and again, singing, working on my craft, developing my work ethic on stage. So that's for me.
Yeah, you're learning.
Yeah,
You're out there
So that was for
learning.
me. But I like I said, didn't the Queensryche guys took another path? Amazing band, amazing talents, amazing songs. So who's to say who was right, who was wrong?
Well, the cover thing goes towards your 10,000 hours on stage.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I'm sure so.
I think so for sure. And but like I said, different strokes for different folks. Now the other one is a bit of a sensitive subject because I wrote every song in Twisted Sister, and I owned every song in Twisted Sister. And Twisted Sister I joined Twisted Sister. And excuse me, these chairs are swallowing me. I'm like, where am I going? Somebody, I've fallen. I can't get up. I'm being eaten by the chairs. And I joined the band that existed. They were all older guys. They're a few years older than me. And they were all from New York City, the Bronx. They were like these. They had that New York attitude. I was a suburban rube. So I was younger than them. I came in the band starry-eyed and I had a voice, and they treated me like I was the kid. And it really alienated me from the guys. I love them all now. I mean, we're friends but at that time, starting out, it really made me feel like I wasn't in the band. As a matter of fact, in the document, in We're Twisted Fucking Sister, I point out that JJ never officially told me I was in the band.
That's right.
When I auditioned, he said,
still waiting for it to
we'll
happen.
see how it works out. That was what he said. And then told me that the drummer who was my age, he says, I was talking to him and he came up with I'm talking to I think I'm in the band. JJ said, we're going to see how it works out. And I'm talking to the guy, and he's from Long Island. He's a dick like me. And, and JJ comes up and goes, don't get too friendly. He's going. And I'm like, what? So that made me feel really like, oh man, your job's on the line. By the way, I don't do drugs, but I drink a lot of coffee, in case you haven't picked up on that. And they threatened to fire me at one point because I drank too much coffee.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So I said,
He was worse than a cokehead.
I said, you got white powder under your nose. You're holding a beer. It's 10 in the morning. You're going to an AA meeting as soon as this is done. And my coffee drinking is bothering you? And I said, dude, you're making us nuts. I said, so anyway, yeah. So I didn't feel like I was a part of the band for a long time. So I got and to sort of like, I tried to write with them and they didn't write with me. So I got into, this is a long answer, Eric. Sorry, dude, but this is just the way, but I was just showing how things can evolve. So I wound up writing and became very by myself and alone and working on these songs. And I never felt like this was something I shared. I'd go in and say, this is the guitar part, this is the drum part, this is how this, and I would tell everybody what to do, not solos and stuff, but I very much was coming in as a loner and with my songs. So I never felt the compunction like, oh, I should be sharing these songs with these guys because of all the hard work they're putting in. Nope, they were out partying, having a good time while I was not getting high and working on song after song after song after song.
Sure.
So I don't think that, personally, I don't think you necessarily are owed anything with writing songs. Outside songwriters don't give anything to the artist. They don't, unless they're Celine Dion. I wrote a Christmas song.
Yes.
Celine Dion, recorded. Yeah, she wanted 25%. I gave it to her. I mean, it was fucking Celine Dion.
Right.
It was a Christmas song I wrote for my wife, and the only song I ever wrote not for commercial use.
Right.
It was a gift. But the guys, I had some studio musicians record it, and the engineer on the session wound up working with Celine. She was doing a Christmas album, and he had a copy of it and played it for her. And she loved it and wanted to do the song. So, but she wanted a piece of the action.
Isn't it one? Isn't it one of the most like popular Christmas songs ever written?
The album is the biggest selling holiday record of all time. 14 million copies.
Wow.
The albums, these are special times. You probably have it in your collection of Christmas favorites. And the song is called The Magic of Christmas, God Bless Us Everyone, which originally, by the way, the song was called God Bless Us Everyone. It was, she wanted a piece of the action and she wanted to change the title to The Magic of Christmas. I said, I don't care if you call this song, I don't care if you call it, this song is a piece of shit. Just put it on your record. I need money.
I was in LA with Mark Weiss and we were talking and he was telling me that, Dee's moved down to North Carolina and he's doing movie stuff. I'm a filmmaker myself, so that perked my ears up, so I'm like, okay, I got to hear like, what's Dee doing nowadays?
So I moved to North Carolina, built a family compound for my 4 grown kids and my 6 grandchildren. And
wow, nice.
So we're doing that. It's just about finished. I'm in North Carolina now. We're supervising the end of the build. We're coming down to the final months. It's a big process. Also, I started a new production company, and I'm not making it official. I can't make the official announcements coming in November, but I've partnered with a major studio in Hollywood, and we are going to be making movies, 4 to 8 movies a year. We're looking to do what Tyler Perry did in Georgia.
Nice.
And I'm heading the studio. So that could get in the way. Because if this goes as well as I expect it to go, and the response has been phenomenal in North Carolina to this new, was what I'm doing, because I've not only moved there, but I'm creating industry, creating jobs, and I am already beloved by the Tar Heels, and I'm glad because I'm not leaving. That's where I live, and so so that is what Dee Snider is, the future for Dee Snider, and it's very much moving forward. Official announcement coming in a month or so.
That's exciting.
And the first film starts production first quarter of next year.
That's really cool.
And we're off to the races.
I've got one more question for you, then we're going to wrap.
I flew to Alabama for an hour? What the fuck is that?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we got to feed you. So look, I know everybody watching this, I'm going to get a lot of flack if I don't ask this question.
Now you're going to say, what do you want to do with your life?
No, fuck no.
I'm going to smoke you right in the nose.
No, seriously. If
what do you do with your life?
what's your favorite city?
That's a good one. We're not going to take it, D. Oh, I forgot the words.
No, seriously though, if the tour was right and the money was right, could there possibly ever be a Twisted Sister reunion and tour? Be honest.
I'm going to answer with a story.
Okay, I love it.
A number of years ago, I got a call from my manager, Phil. And he says, I'll even do the accent. Dee, my boy, we've got a huge license, but we're not going to take it. And he said, really, how much? It was X hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, fucking awesome. What's the product? It's a women's premenopausal medication. Phil, a women's premenopausal medication for we're not going to take it? He goes, Dee, it's a lot of money. I go, what does it do? He goes, well, it helps with hair loss, the chills, vaginal dryness. Whoa. Did you say this fantastic product helps stop vaginal dryness? This is a true story. Well, I'm not lying.
Did you say it just like
yes,
that?
Yes, that's what it does. I go, well, then I'm doing God's work. I mean, who isn't against vaginal dryness?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I speak for everybody. Who here? Show of hands, boys. Who's against vaginal dryness?
Absolutely.
Give me that product. Any of you young women out there saying, well, I don't really care about it, give it 20 years to be shooting dust out of your hooter. You'll want some of this shit. Anyway, I signed the deal. Which shows that Dee Snider is a whore, but he's an expensive whore.
There you go.
So as far as the Twisted Sister reunion goes, I have said I can't stand bands that retire and then they come back. If you no more tours. Yeah, sure, Ozzy. Okay, and they come back. All right, they sell us a T-shirt, they sell us the farewell, and then they come back a few years later. I can't stand that. I say, listen, you don't have to leave. Stay forever. You know, Blue Oyster Cult tour jackets say on tour forever. God love them. But don't announce a 3-year farewell tour, Scorpions, and then say you changed your mind. Don't sign in blood and say you changed your mind. You retire, you do the farewell, you sell the T-shirt. We sold 40 and fucking T-shirts. That's it. You're done. This said, if it cures vaginal dryness, I am willing to consider a reunion.
I love it. And Dee, where can everybody find, announcements or any updates on what you're doing, any of your social medias?
Yeah, DeeSnider.com. But Google, it's me.
There it is.
Google searches are, you just put Dee Snider in there, even if you spell it wrong. You're gonna. It's not with a Y. It's not. It's not a. Snider's not a proper noun. It's an adjective. I'm Snider than you are.
There you go.
Understand? So, but yeah, and it's so funny. I always do something. I've written novels. I have 4 books out now.
I know.
Currently. I've got a novel. I've got my memoirs. I've got a children's book. It's called "We're Not Going to Take It." It's the lyrics of "We're Not Going to Take It," and it's about toddlers who won't do as they're told. They won't take a nap. They won't eat their greens. They're being bad kids. I have a children's book. I have a graphic novel, and we're also reissuing my teenage survival guide that was released in the 80s. It's been updated. That's coming back at the end of the year. So I'm an author. I'm a writer. I'm a producer. The thing I do least now is rock, but when I do, I do.
There you go.
Yeah. This
has been an amazing freaking interview, man. This has been great.
Thanks. I love the forum. And it's conversational and and I'm glad to share.
Such a giving.
Well, thank you so much, brother, for coming in and gracing us, man, here on X. It's been amazing. Like, holy shit. We could go another 2 hours if I didn't have to piss.
That's what's going on. You're over here.
Just a little, I've been doing radio for over 30 years.
Yeah.
A little, sage advice.
Yeah.
Wear Depends like I do. It's not because I need them. I'm lazy.
Are you telling me I'm going to have to burn that fucking chair?
No, they're very absorbent. They're very absorbent. They've got that new layer. Yeah. You've seen it on the commercials. It's real.
I was wondering why he was slipping down in the chair earlier. Yeah, that's exactly what it
I'm
is.
slipping out of my pants.
Go check out DeeSnider.com. Go check out everything Dee's got going on, which is a vast amount of things, different things. Unbelievable guy.
Yeah, you'll never be bored. I promise you that.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Check out D. Go give him some love anywhere he's at. Book signings, anything, concerts, his radio show. Like I said, guy, he's got his hand in everything. Anyway, but we love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.